Yeah.
hacked, and they had evidence. And we had a card saying, actually, right, our servers for this online voting are inside of steel vaults, which are inside of another steel vault, right? There's 24-hour security on site, and then there's an off-site security staff that monitors the on-site security.
That's not like it in Transformer movies. Like any of them.
Oh well, Transformer movies are made to sell money, not to be realistic. So now you've got a neat disadvantage, but it's torn apart because they took out your link. It's not related to the problem. So you're like, okay, I get this. So now we're going to go, they took out our link, so now we're going to go, booyah, 2 links lead to 1 brink and an impact. So you're like, if the Pakistanis get mad, they'll lose nukes. If the Pakistanis get mad, they'll give the nukes to the terrorists. So you're like, if they get mad, the terrorists will take them. If they get mad, the government will give them. What now? And so they're like, ha, we're going to take out that with 1 response. And you're like, I've still got a beautiful disadvantage, and it's still going to take out your case. And so then AF is like, okay, well, maybe that's going to happen, but they're not going to actually be able to use the nukes because they need an arming program that only the security side has. So your problem is not linked to the impact. There's no way you can get from point A to point B. And you're like, dang it, I've got a beautiful disadvantage, but it's taken out again. Or they could use this kind of go boom. So disadvantages can be taken out by the affirmative team with 1 death stroke. They have to separate one from the other. Or they can say, you have John Doe here, Mary Catherine here, and PhD Mr. Jimenez over there. And they're like, you know what? John Doe was saying something, but he doesn't actually mean what Mary Catherine means. And Mary Catherine was saying something, but she doesn't actually mean what Mr. Jimenez was meaning. It's called author singularity. Basically, these guys all say that, but they don't mean what the other person means. Therefore, your whole disadvantage falls. Hmm?
Like, for example, some person says, like if they all say the same phrase, basically mean like if they all say the same phrase, but they can mean by...
Exactly.
Like, some person, I want to say...
He says...
He
He says mad Pakistanis, and he means 70% mad Pakistanis. She says mad Pakistanis, and she means 95% mad Pakistanis. These are 2 different things that don't apply. So when you're AF and you're attacking a disadvantage, that's how you want to attack it. But as neg, that's really bad, because you're like, how can I use a foolproof disadvantage? There's an answer to it, and it's so nice. Oh, it's so beautiful. You go, booyah, 2 links, 2 impacts, and both links lead to both impacts, followed up by what we call a terminal impact. Mind is just blown.
So you have two links. Those links connect to 1 impact, but they also can connect to the other impact.
Right.
And all at the end become 1.
Right, and I'll show you how that happens. So let's split this apart. Let's split it right down the middle. Let's use a red pen. Split it right down the middle. You have this disadvantage. You have a link that leads to 2 impacts. Pakistanis get mad, and they'll lose nukes and attack America, and they'll lose nukes and attack China. You have this disadvantage. The Pakistani terrorist or security organization, the ISI, gets mad. They'll lose nukes and attack America, and they'll lose nukes and attack India. They're 2 separate disadvantages. You also have, I forgot. You also have 2 links to 1 impact. If the ISI and if the Pakistani military gets mad, they'll both attack America. And you've got, can anybody fill in the last one for me? Boom, boom. They'll attack India. So you've got 4 separate disadvantages. Now, this is the key. This disadvantage takes a lot of forethought. You have to comb over your evidence. You have to really look at law journals. But once you set it up, it's literally indestructible. So when you say, they'll attack America, they'll attack the good old US of A, and they'll attack India, judge, that's going to trigger a nuclear war, which will then trigger a 45-year nuclear winter over the world. What have you just done? You didn't need any evidence to create this terminal impact because it's so dang logical. You're like, if the US gets nuked 5 times and they respond with 5 nukes, that's 10 nukes. If India gets nuked 10 times and they respond with 10 nukes, that's 20 nukes. That's 30 nukes. That's the definition of a nuclear war, or something to create a 45-year nuclear winter. So you took these 2 impacts and you logically extrapolated them. I'll give you another example. Let's go back to our stock market one. The stock market crashed, and the US economy is going to crash. That means that if the economy crashes, it won't go back into a regular recession for 5 years. And if the stock market crashes, it will extend the recession by at least 15 years. So, Judge, we've got a 20-year depression on our hands. You didn't need any evidence. It was a logical extrapolation of what the cards had. This is what you call a terminal impact. It's beautiful with this kind of disadvantage. Right, you say, Judge, these are the 2 impacts, and based off these 2 impacts, we have one large terminal impact that we want to leave in your mind.
So how will they not get onto you for connecting the dots and going to
Extrapolation?
Yeah.
Because logical extrapolations aren't extrapolations, they're truth. If you say, like, Judge, we say, like, okay, the US military needs $10 million. And with $10 million, your evidence says this. With $10 million, they can be 25% more efficient. And so you get up in a plan, you say, Judge, we're going to give them $30 million, which means they're going to be 75% more efficient. Your evidence doesn't say that. Your evidence only says 10 million equals 25%. You made an extrapolation that the evidence did not. Now, if you had evidence that said that, that would be great. This is just logic. That's real life. You don't need evidence to say that 15 plus 5 is a 20-year depression. You don't need evidence to say that 10 nukes plus 20 nukes is 30 nukes, and that nuclear war sends us into a nuclear winter. That's logic. It's pure and sensical. If Joe Schmo off the street could make that connection, then your judge can make that connection. There literally is no way to take out this disadvantage without them just sucking time in the 1AR. They're like, oh gosh, I took out that link. Dang it, that leads to 2 impacts. I got to take this impact out. But that means they still have a disadvantage here. Okay, now I got to spend time on that. And before you know it, you still have parts of it left. So they need 3 responses with evidence and analysis as to why this doesn't apply to this and this, why this doesn't apply to that, and why this and this don't lead to that, and why these 2 don't lead to the other one. And that will take up more time than your disadvantage took up. So this is like the mecca of disadvantages, okay? It's like visiting the Holy Land. I don't expect you guys to get it, but if you can use it, then use it, and you make evidence to use it. But there is nothing wrong with a good old link, break, and impact. That's how a disadvantage should look. That's how I expect you to use disadvantages in the round. So there's nothing wrong with the good old regular disadvantage. But if you can ever use this, then you will have attained nirvana of disadvantages. You will probably just disappear and go to debate heaven, wherever that is. Yeah. Yes, you can. Make it snappy. How do you phrase what?
How would you phrase the disadvantage in a debate? Because
Judge, this is disadvantage number 1, and then you tag it nuclear winter.
That's really, you would just say that?
Yeah, you honestly.
I'm trying to think of how the flow, how would you make that statement?
Well, honestly, you want the judge to flow all of your arguments, so when they're writing it down, you want them to write it down as DA1, nuclear winter.
That, and then do you actually talk to the judge?
yes.
What do you mean, talk to the judge?
Do you actually look at him and say
Oh, yeah.
judge? Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
thought.
It's not your honor.
High contact. No, yeah, it's judge.
Judge. Okay.
Yeah, it's judge. You don't want to be debaters who are so judge, today, judge, we're going to talk about the things that you judge. You're going to vote on judge, so judge. Yeah. It's like Tim Hawkins' joke when you're praying, you're with the people who say Lord too much, so Lord, we really just, Lord, we pray, Lord, that you would just, Lord, you would come down today, Lord. Sitting at coffee and you're hey, John, how's it going, John? John, it's really good to see you, John. John, it's just, you're just the best John person, John. You're just so, it's really annoying. And that's why you don't want to do that. You want to say the judge's name, sir, Mrs., ma'am, you're, in BP, it's the chair. It's the chair and his honorable associates, or it's the honorable chair and the bench. You know, you apply them like they would in Parliament. With debate, it's the same thing. It's the judge. So judge, today we're going to be talking about. Just don't say it too much. All right, structured disadvantages. Okay, we're going to wait till Max gets back, but we're going to talk about cross-examination, which is something that nobody has covered this week, and I'm really kind of peeved that nobody has covered it because it's really important. It's the best part of the round where you get to get up and make a fool of your opponent while you're standing side by side. You can't look at each other, and that lasts 3 minutes long.
Really?
Yes. Oh no, you got to stand side by side. You can't look at him. You got to look straight at the judge. It's really awesome. So basically, it's 3 minutes long, and it's a set of questions that you're going to pose to them that you're asking questions about their case. But that's only half of it. You heard an 8-minute speech, and you didn't understand some things about it. That's the time to get it out. You want to understand the entire case by the time this 3 minutes is up. However, by the time you become an advanced debater, you will know every question you're about to say, and you will know every answer they're going to give before you even get up to give the cross-examination. That's how good you want to be. You never, when you become an advanced debater, you never ask a question unless you know what he's going to say. Because cross-examination is a strategic way to win a debate round because you're getting him to say things that you want him to say. You're not saying, why? Because then he's like, well, I gave an 8-minute speech, but I can go for a few more minutes, so... And then he just gives this long spiel about his case, and you're sitting there going like, gosh, dang it, like, why did I ask him that question? Because you want to spend time on the bad things about his case, not the good things. A few great strategies in cross-ex. I don't have enough time to go fully into cross-ex. Actually, maybe I do. I'll go into some really cool ways to win cross-examination. You want to limit him to yes or no answers. How do you guys think you do that?
Cut him off when he starts explaining stuff.
That's good, but it's also rude. And actually, when you get cut off, you can use it to your advantage. If you're saying, you know, well, that's a really good question, and then you're like, and my first point is, and he goes, wait, shut up immediately. Because it looks like you just got, like, cut. And the judge is like, oh, man, like, you cut him off. Like, what? Like, let him speak. So when you get cut off, you want to make it look like you got cut off. You want to make it look like he's rude, because that plays into your favor. However, there's 2 ways to make him give yes or no answers. Number 1 is tell him to do it. Him, her. You get up there, and you're like, okay, I've got a few questions for you today, John. That's a great speech, by the way. I'm going to ask a few questions. If you could limit it to yes or no answers, that would be really great, because I have a lot of questions to ask. Say it in a polite way. If they're like, well, I need to explain things, you're like, great, if I want explanation, I'll ask for it, okay? Like, sometimes just be, in cross-examination, it's your time to be witty. Don't be rude, be witty. You can be funny. My first question, every time I stood up for cross-examination, because I live in California, there's this great burger place called In-N-Out. And so yeah, exactly. And so I would get up there and I'm like, okay, In-N-Out or Chipotle? And and sometimes they'd be like, so, great speech, John. I'm going to start off with the most important question that I have for you today, and I really would like you to answer truthfully about this. In-N-Out or Chipotle? And they'd be like, what? Like, LOL, what, smiley face? Like, how do you know? I thought you were going to ask something serious, but it throws them off their guard. You're witty. You get rapport with the judge. So you can tell him or her to do that. You know, I really appreciate if you would limit your answers to yes or no because I have a lot of questions to ask. Or you can ask leading questions. And the way you do that is you ask, isn't it true that? Would you say that? Help me out, Tucker. Isn't it, you can also, yeah, reverse it. Isn't it false that? How would, you know, what, you have an example?
Wouldn't it be the same as, like, what you can't do in a court, leading a witness?
Exactly. But you don't want to make it look like you're doing it. You can say, isn't it true that your plan cuts the income tax? And they're like, yes. And they can't say anything.